This is lesson number 4 in music theory, and in this lesson we're going to be covering minor scales. Minor scales. Now in the past lesson we covered major scales. This lesson we're going to be covering minor scales. Scales are important because we are going to use scales in the next videos to construct chords. And so we can use the major and minor scales to construct chords. But first of all, we need to talk about how to build the major scale and the minor scales. So we talked about the major scales in the past lesson, and so now we're going to be covering, first of all, the natural minor scale. There are 3 types of minor scales. One is the natural minor, there's a harmonic minor as well, and a melodic minor. Let's start first of all with the natural minor scale. Now, I have a C major scale written out on the board right now. It sounds like this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. Now, in order to convert this major scale to a natural minor scale, we have to take the 3rd note, the 6th note, and the 7th note and lower them by 1/2 step. So in order to make a natural minor scale, you will start with a major scale and lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th note of the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 3, 6, and 7. We are going to lower these 3 pitches by a 1/2 step. So if we lower E by a 1/2 step, that turns into E flat. If we lower A by a 1/2 step, that turns into A flat. B down a 1/2 step, that turns into B flat. So now this is our C natural minor scale. C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, and C. Now this is what a natural minor scale sounds like on the piano. C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D, C. Just like we did in the major scale video, I want to go through all 12 of the natural minor scales, and then we'll move on to the harmonic and melodic. The harmonic and the melodic are just a variation of this natural minor scale. So once we've gone through all 12 natural minor scales, it won't take that much more time to address the harmonic and the melodic. So we'll go through all 12 natural minor scales. Moving on to the D natural minor scale. So remember, in order to make the D natural minor scale, we need to first of all start with our D major scale. So our D major scale uses the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. So to build a natural minor scale, we need to start with the major scale and lower the 3rd, this is the 3rd right here, the 6th, and the 7th pitches of the scale. So we need to lower this F sharp, this B natural, and this C sharp here. If we lower this F sharp, that F sharp will turn into an F natural. So we'll just take away that sharp sign there. If we lower this B natural, that B will turn into a B flat. And if we lower the C sharp, that C sharp will turn into a C natural. So we'll just take away that sharp. So the notes of our D natural minor scale are D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and D. This is what that sounds like. D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, C, B flat, A, G, F, E, D. So that is our D natural minor scale. We just started with the D major scale and lowered the F sharp to an F natural. we lowered the B to a B flat, and we lowered the C sharp to a C natural. The 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes of the scale lowered a half step. So that's our D natural minor scale. Let's do our E natural minor scale. The notes of the E major scale are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. So this here is our E major scale. Let's lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes of the scale. So if we lower this G sharp, that becomes a G natural. So we'll just take away that sharp. Let's lower the C sharp by a half step. That becomes a C natural. We'll just take away the sharp. And then we'll just take away the sharp on this D as well, because that D sharp needs to be a D natural. And so now we are left with our E natural minor scale. And the E natural minor scale goes E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, and E. That sounds like this on the piano. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, D, C, B, A, G, F sharp, E. So that's our E natural minor scale. Let's move on to our F natural minor. I'm going to switch colors because that black is getting harder to see. F natural minor. Let's start with our F major scale. So our F major scale has the notes F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and F. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Now in order to make our F natural minor scale, we need to lower this A, the D, and the E. So if we lower the A, that A will become an A flat. Lower the D and that becomes a D flat. Lower the E and that becomes an E flat. And now let's put our flat symbols on the notes themselves. Now that is our F natural minor scale. F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, and F. F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, E flat, D flat, C, B flat, A flat, G, F. Moving on to our G natural minor scale. Our G natural minor scale. We'll start with the G major scale. It has the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Now we need to lower the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th down a half step. So we need to take that B natural and turn it into a B flat. So B natural needs to turn into a B flat. E natural needs to turn into an E flat. And F sharp needs to turn into an F natural. So we'll take away that sharp sign there. So we have the notes for our G natural minor scale. They are G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, and G. We'll play that on the piano. G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, F, E flat, D, C, B flat, A, G. So that is our G natural minor scale. Let's move on to our A natural minor scale. We'll start with the A major scale first. And the A major scale has A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. That is our A major scale. In order to get the A natural minor, we need to lower the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th. If we lower the C sharp down a half step, that becomes a C natural. So we'll just take away that sharp sign. If we lower the F sharp, that F sharp becomes an F natural. And to lower the G sharp, that G sharp will become a G natural, so we'll just take away the sharp sign. And now this is our A natural minor scale. It has the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Let's go on to our B natural minor scale. We'll start off with our B major scale, and the B major scale has the notes B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B. This is our B major scale. Let's lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th. So if we lower that D sharp will become a D natural. If we lower the G sharp, that G sharp will become a G natural. And lower that A sharp, that'll become an A natural. So the B natural minor scale is B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. This is what it sounds like on the piano. So moving on to the C sharp natural minor scale, we'll start off with the C sharp major scale and then apply our lowered 3rd, 6th, and 7th. Now, in the past video, we never actually covered the C sharp major scale. Instead, we covered the D flat major scale. Now, while D flat and C sharp are the same note on the piano, you can actually write a scale as if you were starting on C sharp or D flat. If you were writing a D flat major scale, you would use all flats to notate the scale, but to write a C sharp major scale, you would use all sharps to notate the scale. So this is just an inharmonic equivalent of the D flat major scale. I'll show you how to write the C sharp major scale right here. So if we apply our whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, let's write all of our notes from C sharp to C sharp, covering every line and every space. So we'll have some sort of a D, some sort of an E, some sort of an F, some sort of a G, some sort of an A, and some sort of a B. A whole step above C sharp will be what? D sharp. So we'll take this D and add a sharp sign next to it. D sharp up a whole step. Is this a whole step right here? D sharp to E? D sharp to E? No, that's a half step. So we need to add a sharp sign to the E. So that will become E sharp there. We've got C sharp, D sharp, and E sharp. Now we need a half step. E sharp to F. Is that a half step? E sharp, F. Nope, that's in fact the same note. So we need to apply a sharp sign to the F to increase that to a half step. So our next note is F sharp. F sharp up a whole step. F sharp to G is a half step, so we need to put a sharp on this G to get it to a whole step. That's our next pitch in the scale. G sharp to A, is that a whole step? G sharp A, nope, so we need to increase the A to an A sharp. So G sharp to A sharp, whole step. Now we need one more whole step. A sharp to B, A sharp to B, that's a half step, so we need to put a sharp sign on the B. So, in fact, for our C sharp major scale, every one of the notes are sharp. For the D flat major scale, the D flat major scale uses the inharmonic equivalents of these notes. So instead of C sharp, it uses the note D flat. Instead of D sharp, it uses the note E flat. Instead of E sharp, it uses the note F. Instead of F sharp, it uses G flat. Instead of G sharp, it uses A flat. Instead of A sharp, it uses B flat. Instead of B sharp, it uses the note C. And instead of C sharp, it uses the note D flat. So you can see how you could write the C sharp major scale as a D flat major scale and get the same notes. All of these pitches are inharmonic equivalents of each other. But for the sake of finding our C sharp natural minor scale, I wanted to write it out as a C sharp major scale first, and then apply our lowered third and lowered sixth and lowered seventh. So now we've got our C sharp major scale here. Let's take the third, the sixth, and seventh, and lower them by a half step. If we lower that E sharp by a half step, we get E natural. So that E sharp becomes an E natural. The A sharp becomes an A natural. And the B sharp becomes a B natural. So the notes of our C sharp natural minor scale are C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, and C sharp. It sounds like this. So that's our C sharp natural minor scale. We started off with our C sharp major scale, which actually had a sharp sign on each of the notes. And then we just took away essentially the sharp from the E, the A, and the B, the third, the sixth, and the seventh. And that became our C sharp natural minor scale. Let's do our E flat natural minor scale. We'll start off with our E flat major scale, which has the notes E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, and E flat. Now let's lower the third, the sixth, and the seventh. G down a half step becomes G flat. C down a half step becomes C flat. D down a half step becomes D flat. Now let's put our flat signs on the notes themselves there. So that is our E flat natural minor scale. E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, and E flat. Now just like with our major scales, we want to include every letter name in our scale. So you don't want to have a B flat followed by a B natural, because C flat and B natural are inharmonic equivalents, but you wouldn't want to write this pitch as a B natural because then you'd be skipping over C in the alphabet. So we need to have a C flat instead of a B natural in order to get every letter name in the musical alphabet in the scale. So the E flat natural minor scale sounds like this on the piano. That's our E flat natural minor scale. Let's do our F sharp natural minor scale. Let's start off with our F sharp major scale. So to build our F sharp major scale, we need to fill in every line and every space from F sharp to F sharp. And then apply our sharp signs to get our F sharp major scale. F sharp to G sharp is a whole step. G sharp to A sharp, that's our whole step. Now A sharp to B is our half step. B to C sharp is our whole step. Now we need another whole step. C sharp to D sharp. D sharp to E sharp. Get another whole step there. And then finishing up with our half step. This is our F sharp major scale. Now we need to lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th of our F sharp major scale. So that A sharp will become an A natural. The D sharp will become a D natural. And the E sharp will become an E natural. So our F sharp natural minor scale has the notes F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, and F sharp. I'll play that on the piano. Moving on to our G sharp natural minor scale. Our G sharp natural minor scale. We'll start off by writing a G sharp major scale first. And if you remember in the past video, we didn't actually write a G sharp major scale because I said it would use double sharps. And I want to write out the G sharp major scale and show you how that would actually need to have a double sharp in the scale. And then after we write out the G sharp major scale, then we'll essentially take away that double sharp to get our G sharp natural minor scale. But first of all, let's do a theoretical exercise. Let's run through this. Instead of writing an A flat major scale, let's write it as a G sharp major scale. In order to write a G sharp major scale, we need to have, of course, a G sharp on the top and the bottom of the scale. We need to fill in every line and space in between those notes. So we'll have some sort of A, some sort of B, some sort of C, some sort of D, some sort of E, and some sort of F. Now let's write our whole, half, whole, half formula up here. Just so you remember that. G sharp. After G sharp, we need a whole step. G sharp to A, is that a whole step? No, that's a half step, so we need to increase that to an A sharp. G sharp to A sharp is a whole step. A sharp to B, is that a whole step? No, that's a half step, so we need to put a sharp sign on B. B sharp to C, B sharp to C. That's actually the same pitch on the piano, so we need to increase that to get a half step. So we'll put a sharp sign next to that C in order to get B sharp to C sharp. B sharp to C sharp, that's our half step. Now C sharp to D, C sharp, D, that's a half step. We need a whole step, so we need to put a sharp sign next to this D in order to increase that to a whole step. D sharp to E, D sharp to E, we need another whole step. D sharp to E is a half step, so we need to put a sharp sign next to the E. Now, E sharp to F, E sharp to F, that's the same pitch again on the piano. We need it to be a whole step, so we need to actually put a double sharp on this F in order to get it to the size of a whole step. We don't want to put a G natural there. Although G natural to G sharp would give us the half step we need, we want to cover every letter name in the alphabet. And we don't want to be skipping any spaces or lines in our scale. So we want to make that an F double sharp. E sharp to F double sharp. E sharp to F double sharp is our whole step there. F double sharp to G sharp. F double sharp to G sharp is our half step. So the notes of our G sharp major scale are G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F double sharp, and G sharp. If we lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes of this scale, so the 3rd right here, this B sharp, we'll lower that. We'll lower this E sharp here, And then we'll lower this F double sharp. First of all, let's lower the B sharp there. If we lower a B sharp, then that just becomes a B natural. So we essentially just take away that sharp sign. Now let's lower this E sharp right here, the 6th pitch of the scale. E sharp down a half step becomes an E natural. So we'll just take away that sharp sign and take away the sharp sign up here. So that is an E natural now. Now let's lower the F double sharp. So now here's where we get rid of that double sharp. We needed it for our theoretical exercise here. In order to write the G sharp major scale, we needed to have the F double sharp. But now we're getting rid of it to get our G sharp natural minor. So if we lower the F double sharp by a half step, essentially what you're doing is you're taking away the double sharp and replacing it with a sharp sign. So that F double sharp now becomes an F single sharp, just one sharp. And then we'll replace that double sharp sign up there with just a sharp sign. So our G sharp natural minor scale has the notes G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G sharp. While this isn't the only way to arrive at this conclusion, starting with the major scale and applying this formula is just one of the ways to get to this result. In the next videos, we'll be talking about other ways to achieve this same scale without having to write it out as a G sharp major scale, which you don't see a piece of music in the key of G sharp. You would always see it in the key of A flat. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to demonstrate how you would actually do that. How you would start with a G sharp major scale and then apply this lower third, lower 6th, and lower 7th. So that takes care of our G sharp natural minor scale. I'll play that on the piano. Now let's move on to our B flat natural minor scale. In order to get our B flat natural minor scale, we need to start with our B flat major scale, which has the notes B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and B flat. Now let's lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes of the scale. D down a half step becomes a D flat. G down a half step becomes a G flat. A down a half step becomes an A flat. So that takes care of all of our natural minor scales. Now in order to get the harmonic minor scale, it's not that much different than the natural minor scale. What you'll do is you'll take the major scale and just lower the 3rd and 6th notes of the scale. Instead of lowering the 3rd, 6th, and 7th, we'll just lower the 3rd and the 6th. So let's go back to our B flat major scale. So our B flat major scale is B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and B flat. In order to get the B flat harmonic minor scale, we'll just lower the 3rd and the 6th notes of the scale. We'll keep that 7th note just as it is. So D will become D flat, and G will become G flat. We're just lowering the 3rd and the 6th. So this is what a harmonic minor scale sounds like. So that is our B flat harmonic minor scale. I won't go through all of the harmonic minor scales. All it is the same exercise as we just did, but instead of lowering the 7th, just leave the 7th alone. So whatever the 7th was in your major scale is going to be the same 7th note as in the minor scale. All you're lowering is the 3rd and the 6th. So that's our harmonic minor scale. Last but not least, let's talk about our melodic minor scale. Now this is one of the more special ones because it's different in ascending motion than it is in descending motion. So the way I have this scale written right here is actually in ascending motion, meaning that the pitches are increasing in pitch. Descending motion would be if you started here and then went back down to this pitch right here. So pretty self-explanatory, ascending versus descending. In order to get the melodic minor scale in ascending motion, instead of lowering the 3rd and 6th, you lower just the 3rd. So for natural minor, we lowered the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes of a major scale. For harmonic minor, we lowered the 3rd and the 6th. Now for melodic minor, we'll lower just the 3rd note of a major scale. So let's go back to our major scale again. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. That's the notes of our B flat major scale. Let's lower just the 3rd of our major scale. So we'll take that D and turn it down to D flat. This is our B flat melodic minor scale in ascending motion. It's actually going to be different in descending motion. But let's play it first in ascending motion on the piano. So you have B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. So it sounds very similar to a major scale, except this one pitch right here is giving us a melodic minor scale. So that is B flat melodic minor in ascending motion. In order to write it in descending motion, you would actually use the notes of the B flat natural minor scale. So whenever we're going up, we use these pitches, but whenever we go back down the scale, we'll just use the notes that we used in the natural minor scale. So if we remember our B flat natural minor scale, we had the notes D flat here, G flat, and A flat. We lowered the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes. So if we write this scale in descending motion, we get the notes A flat, G flat, F, E flat, D flat, C, B flat. So going up, we lower just the 3rd. And then going down, we lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th. So in backwards motion, that would be the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. We lower that 6th note right there, and then the 7th note right there. So in descending motion, we use all of the notes of the B flat natural minor scale. So going up, it's melodic, and then going down, it's natural minor. So I'll play it in ascending and then descending motion on the piano. So did you hear how it was different on the way back down than it was on the way up? Let's go over one more example of a melodic minor scale, just because this one is a little bit more advanced than the others. Not much to it because we've already talked about the natural minor scale, but let's just give one more example of this. Let's do C melodic minor. So we'll start off with the C major scale. And of course the notes of the C major scale are all the white notes. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Now let's lower just the third to get our melodic minor ascending. For our melodic minor in ascending motion, we lower just the third. So we'll lower this E to an E flat. And that gives us C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, and C. We'll use the natural minor scale going back down. So in order to write the C natural minor scale going back down, we need to use a lowered third, a lowered sixth, so we need an A flat going back down, and we need a B flat going back down. So C, B flat, and then A flat, G, F, E flat. The E flat will stay the same, and then D, and then C. So our C melodic minor scale has just a lowered third on the ascending part, and then going back down, we use the natural minor scale, which has a lowered seventh, sixth, and third. So in descending motion, these are our pitches: B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D, and C. So now I'll play that on the piano. C melodic ascending, and then C melodic descending, which is just a natural minor scale. One more time. C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, C, B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D, C. So the melodic minor scale is certainly a more special and unique scale, but as long as you remember to start with a major scale and lower just the third note in ascending motion, and then in descending motion, you would lower the third, sixth, and seventh. So that takes care of all of the three types of minor scales. Just to review, our natural minor scale, it needs a lowered third, sixth, and seventh. So you'd start with a major scale and lower the third, sixth, and seventh notes of the scale. For your harmonic minor scale, you need to lower the third and the sixth notes of the scale, but you'll keep the seventh note as is. So whatever major scale you want to start with, and then lower just the third and the sixth notes. And then for our melodic minor scale, you lower just the third note in ascending motion, and then you lower the third, sixth, and seventh to get a natural minor scale on the way down. So that will wrap up lesson number 4 on minor scales. And for the next lesson, lesson number 5, I want to get into key signatures as well as the circle of fifths. Key signatures, just very briefly, if you've ever heard someone talk about what key we're playing a song in, or someone might ask, what key are you playing that song in? Oh, I'm going to be playing it in A flat, or I'm going to be playing in D major. The key signature will tell us what notes in the piece of music are by default going to be flat, or what notes are by default going to be sharp. And the key signature also clues us in on what chords might we expect to see in the song. But anyways, this is a really important lesson. If you can navigate all 12 of your keys, all 12 of your major keys, and all 12 of your minor keys, that will make you a really proficient musician. So that'll do it for lesson number 4, and I look forward to lesson number 5.